Everyone chasing an airline career is going after the same job first. Commercial, the airlines, United, Delta, the big names. But here's the thing that nobody tells you. It's not the bottom of the ladder, it's the top. Most people think that commercial aviation is where you start, and you can only get there if you know somebody or get lucky. Simply put, it's where you end up after you've proven yourself at other aviation companies. So when people apply for the major airlines and get rejected or hear nothing back, they think, well, I guess aviation isn't for me, instead of looking for the actual entry point. That's the mistake that this entire video is about. A lot of people assume that getting into aviation is just a matter of applying with certain qualifications. It isn't. It takes timing and persistence. And it also takes knowing a path that no one really knows exists. I've almost made that same exact mistake myself. And if you're watching this video because you keep getting rejected from the airlines, keep watching. Because I am about to show you the part of the industry that nobody talks about. Imagine two people graduating from A&P school the same exact day, same test score, same everything. One of those A&Ps has gone through 3 years of fueling at an FBO and has gone to a regional airline and has a lot of aviation experience backed up behind him. And the other A&P has no experience. Maybe he worked at a dealership or any other job to just pay for his school. Which A&P do you think would get hired first? The one with the qualification and the experience, right? The relevant experience is really what helps. The difference is one of them has climbed the ladder and one of them is just starting. And that's really okay to be in that position. You just need to know where to start and how to climb up. Honestly, if you have that A&P certificate, you can climb that ladder way faster than anybody else. And now, if this is all obvious, why do so many people skip that first rung on the ladder? Here's mistake number one that I see. People try to get to commercial first, when in reality, that's the top of the ladder. So when you get rejected from the place you thought was the entry point, it's really hard to know where to go next. Because in their mind, commercial is the only place. There is no ladder. It's just get in, pass or fail. And here's mistake number two. And it's really the root of this problem. A lot of people don't realize that general aviation even exists. If you think about it, all of the stories on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere, all the aviation is commercial pilots posting about their exotic layovers, all the places they stayed, and their cool uniforms, just everything about commercial. And no one really posts about that one Cessna aircraft mechanic, right? That's living 2 miles down the road at the airport next to your house. No one really posts about that because it's not exotic. But it is really a very good place to start, especially if you don't know people in aviation. Really, a lot of aviation is knowing people. And when I started out, I knew 0 people. My first job, I got lucky. They were just busy and needed people. Nobody in my family is in aviation. I've really made this on my own. And that's why I think it's important that you listen to these steps, because I know that this is the path that works, because I'm on it right now. And again, that's the real problem. Many people don't realize general aviation as a real career branch or choice. It's not about laziness. It's not about giving up. Simply put, they don't even realize that that ladder exists. And invisible ladders never get climbed. And I know why a lot of people chase those commercial positions. And it's because I did too, right? You get that commercial job, flight benefits, free flights anywhere. I work at SkyWest. I get free flights on Delta, United, American. Like, I could go anywhere I want. But that's exactly why that top rung of the ladder is crowded. Everybody wants those flight benefits. They ask this question to all the A&Ps at the start of school: why are you becoming an A&P? And 90% of the people will tell them, I want flight benefits, I want to travel whenever I want. That's why the top rung is crowded. A lot of people get into aviation because they want to travel for free. And honestly, that's why I'm here too. Everyone is here for that. And that's why the entry point is where it is. And people don't realize that. It's totally okay for that to be a reason to want the job. But again, that's why that top rung of the ladder is so crowded. And when you put it in that perspective, right, everyone wants to get there. They think it's the bottom, but it's really the top. And so then that makes the ladder invisible. because they can only think about the commercial airline that they've been looking at their whole life. So if commercial is the top, then what lies underneath? And this is really where my story begins. Because once I realized that everybody was playing one game, I knew that there needed to be another path to get there. And I discovered it. The path that nobody is talking about. And everything I told you sounds good in theory, but theories don't get you hired, right? So let me show you exactly what I've done to get to where I am now. There are 5 specific things that move me up the ladder, and I'll walk through every single one of them. And again, I'm not telling you this from the outside. I'm on that ladder right now and currently climbing it. My first job was at Signature Aviation, which was an FBO, General Aviation. I got that job because I applied during the winter and they needed people. I wasn't even working on airplanes. I was only driving cars. It wasn't really an aviation job, but it was in aviation. And that's why I got it, because I knew it could break me into this aviation ground where I could meet people and get better jobs. I eventually moved to Atlantic Aviation, which was just next door. Except that this job, I was doing real aviation tasks. I was fueling airplanes, towing airplanes, and working on airplanes. And I got this job because I proved myself before at Signature. I proved that I am learning aviation and wanting to grow and keep this as my career. And that's why they hired me. Simply put, you need to find that bottom rung wherever you are. Mine was Signature Aviation, and it got me up to Atlantic Aviation, which are really at the same part, but Signature was easier for me to get. As I was going through these jobs, I stayed at Atlantic for 2 years. I wasn't having a real master plan of what was going on. I just knew that experience would help me grow in this career that I wanted to be in. So at that job, I didn't really feel like I was climbing a ladder. I just felt like I was going to work every day. But looking back, that's exactly what I was doing. I was climbing the ladder, and here's why. I wasn't just clocking in every day, going to work, going home. I was going to work and receiving training in aviation. And it's not like a certification or anything like that, but to even say that you've been trained to tow an airplane shows that you have responsibility in aviation. And that's important. It's very specific. Once you are in that niche and you dial down what you do and how you can help them, you can really grow your career off of that. My niche that I'm in is general aviation. As I've been dialing down and learning everything that I can in general aviation, even working, I'm at a regional airline right now, but I'm still wanting to return to general aviation because that's where I feel like I fit most. I'm learning about commercial aviation, but learning what I can to apply that to working in general aviation in the future. So right now I'm building experience, and that is so important. You can't just show up from nowhere asking Delta to say, hey, can I fix your airplanes? Even though you have an A&P certificate, anybody can get an A&P certificate. And that's why when you know people, they get you hired because they know someone's dad that's a good worker, he gets his son hired. And that's why it's hard to get a job in aviation. But if you prove yourself in other areas and say, hey, this is what I've done, these people can vouch for me. You even meet people that know others in commercial areas. Like at my job, it directly feeds to Delta. So at SkyWest, I'm receiving training. In a couple weeks, I'm going to do dive penetration training, which will teach me how to find cracks in wheels. Basically, it's really simple, but the application is huge. It shows that I am learning in this career, wanting to stay, right? Doing all these things to keep me in aviation. It makes me more valuable to them, and it makes me more valuable to myself, honestly, because I'm in what I want and I'm learning what I need to learn. And like I said, I'm at SkyWest. I get all those flight benefits and whatever, but it's really the middle rung still because the commercial airlines is the top. You get paid a lot more, you get a lot more hours and better benefits and everything like that. SkyWest, really the only good benefit is the flight benefits. I don't get paid very well, but I do get a lot of training and I get to know more people that know people at Delta, right? That can vouch for me. And as I work hard at SkyWest, they will tell others that I'm a hard worker. And that's why it's so important to kind of make your brand, your own brand in aviation as a hard worker. Because that's what they want. They want you to be a hard worker, a good leader. And as you prove yourself through all these steps, you can get to commercial fairly easy. Now, getting hired at SkyWest was not easy at all. I applied, I want to say like 6 times over the course of like a year and a half. I even knew somebody in SkyWest that really didn't even vouch for me. I don't know why, but it took me a lot of tries. And what got me that advantage at SkyWest to get hired there was I told them that I was enrolled in my AMTT program, my aircraft maintenance technician program. It told them that I held value, pretty much, future value. Because companies don't hire for what you can do today, they hire you for what you can do in the future. And if they know you're enrolled in an aircraft maintenance technician training, they know that they can use you as an aircraft mechanic in the future, if you've proven yourself. And above SkyWest is the top rung. The big commercial names, Delta, United, all those big names. And that's what's ahead of me. But I'm not worried about it because I know that if I prove myself, get my certifications, and show these companies that I am future valuable, that they will look at me seriously as a candidate and accept me and hire me on to the position that I want. I can see the path that I'm in because right as you climb the ladder, right, when I had no rungs, the first rung of the ladder was general aviation. And when I was at general aviation, I saw that the second one was regional, SkyWest. My regional aviation was SkyWest. I got onto that second rung, and now I can see that third rung, the Delta, and I know exactly how to climb to that third rung. So really it goes Atlantic, SkyWest, Delta for me. And almost nobody talks about this ladder because people like me who don't know anyone in aviation simply can't get in because they don't know where to start. And if you don't know where to start, you're not going to make a video about starting because you don't know where. And others that get into commercial aviation, they usually know somebody there. And they're not going to make a video about climbing the ladder if they never had to. So that's why I'm making this video for everyone that needs to climb that ladder. I'm here to show you how. Now maybe you're thinking, that's great for you, but I have no tools, no badge, no car. I've never even touched an airplane. Well, neither did I. When I started at Signature Aviation, I borrowed my mom's car. I convinced my sister to join that same job at the airport, and we ended up carpooling until I could save enough money to buy my own car. And starting out in general aviation is not glamorous. I made about $18 an hour, no tools, no badge, no experience, just a willingness to show up and work hard. And somehow, that was enough. The bar that people imagine is so much higher than it really is. People think they need tools, connections, experience, their own car first, some kind of head start. But I had none of that. I just got the job first. Tools, cars, experience, connections, those all came later. The company didn't take me because I had 10 years of experience. They took me because they saw somebody who was willing to be trained. And every one of those things came to me after I was already in the aviation industry, not before. So if you're starting with almost nothing, you're a lot closer to where I started than you probably think. 0 is not the disqualifier. It's the starting line. And here's the thing that most people don't realize. If you're willing to start with 0, get your foot in the door, then you're way ahead of everyone else that's waiting to get prepared. You're building that experience, you're meeting people, making connections, learning how the industry works, and by the time the other person is ready to apply, you've already climbed through that first rung. If this is starting to click, if you're realizing that ladder has been there this whole time that you didn't realize, subscribe. Because the rest of the video is exactly how to climb that ladder. So let's make this practical. If 0 is the starting line, where's the first step? If it isn't buying a toolbox, getting your certification, waiting till you're ready, the first move is simple. Find the bottom rung. But here's the part nobody wants to hear. The bottom rung is not glamorous. It's probably not the job you imagined. Those flight benefits, nothing. You won't get any of that. For me, it was towing, fueling, de-icing aircraft in the middle of winter. It wasn't fixing engines, signing maintenance records, right? I wasn't even working on the planes that people dream about, but I was there inside the industry, and that's the part that matters. Because your first aviation job isn't supposed to be the finish line, it's the doorway. You're not looking for the job that makes you feel like you've made it. You're looking for a job that gets you closer to that doorway. That's the difference. A lot of people wait and wait, looking for the perfect opportunity. Meanwhile, the other person does not wait, gets the imperfect opportunity, and immediately starts building credibility, and they start moving forward. The first rung does not have to be impressive. It just has to exist. Nobody hands out trophies for the first rung. They hand out opportunities. And there's another part of this that people really underestimate, and that's your availability. Airplanes don't stop moving at 5 o'clock. Neither does maintenance, neither do operations. The person that's willing to work other shifts that people avoid is the person that moves up and becomes more valuable. If you're willing to say yes to the opportunity, you've separated yourself from a lot of other applicants that say no to working a grave shift or working on the weekends. I'll give you my own example. I go to church every single Sunday, and when I got my job at Atlantic, I had to start working on Sundays. I had to go to church from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and then I had to start work at 12 o'clock and finish 10 hours later at 10 p.m. It was a long, long day, but I was willing to take that because I knew it would give me the opportunity to go further in aviation. By all means, it was not ideal, it was not convenient, but I took the opportunity. Getting that job mattered more to me than the perfect opportunity. So I showed up, worked hard, and proved my value. I became somebody that Atlantic, Salt Lake City could depend on. And eventually, 6 months later, they knew my value and they gave me the schedule I wanted. I ended up having Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off. And I could have Sundays free like I wanted. But it's only because I took that imperfect opportunity and worked my way to the opportunity I wanted, getting me closer and closer to the next door. The first opportunity might not look perfect, it might even look ugly, but if you take it, you will work forward if you prove your worth. So as you climb up this ladder, the next question is, how do I not become just another person on this bottom rung? How do you become somebody that companies want to invest in? For me, there were 5 things that changed everything. Everything I've talked about so far doesn't matter if you don't find that first job first. So let me show you exactly how I found my first aviation job. Again, no connections, no insider family, no referrals, nothing. Here's one mistake people make. They open LinkedIn, Indeed, all these job sites and look for jobs in aviation. And that's really not a bad thing to do, but it's not the most efficient way if you want to get your first job in aviation. If you look for jobs like that, you'll scroll and decide, well, these aren't real aviation jobs. No one's really hiring. These aren't the opportunities that I need, right? You'll look for TSA opportunities, but TSA isn't really aviation, it's a government position. And I understand that. I looked for those jobs, I applied for those jobs, and didn't realize why that wasn't working. And here's what I realized when I got and found that bottom rung. Many FBOs, maintenance shops, and places like that to work don't hire from external postings like Indeed. They hire from their internal company job website. So here's what I did. I made a list of every aviation company within driving distance of my house. Every maintenance operation, every FBO, every charter. If they physically worked around airplanes, I put that on the list. Then once a week on the same day every week, I would go to that company's career page and check if they had job openings. And most of the time they didn't, but I still came back every single week to see when the jobs would open. Because hiring doesn't happen on your schedule. A position can be open on Tuesday, closed on Friday. The goal isn't to hope to be lucky, the goal is to be there when luck shows up. And that's exactly how I got my first job at SkyWest. I wasn't in the right place because I knew somebody, I was in the right place because I was looking every single week. That's what made the difference. Most people, they'll check once, see no openings, and quit. But the people who eventually get hired are the ones who keep applying, keep checking, even if they don't get hired the first time. If you've made it this far, you know a whole lot more than I did when I was first getting into aviation. But finding that job wasn't the hardest part. Convincing that I was worth to be hired was. And that's where the next step begins. Here's the part that actually moved me from that bottom to middle rung. Like I said, you don't get hired for who you are today, you get hired for who you're becoming. Here's exactly what that looked like for me, not just generic career advice. This is what worked for me, somebody working towards getting their A&P certificate. The first thing that I did was make sure that they could not miss it. In my application, I told them I was enrolled in my aircraft maintenance program. I mentioned it in my application, and then I mentioned it again in my interview. So I wasn't just handing them a resume. I was showing them what I was becoming. Hire me today, and you're not just getting the person you hired, you're getting an A&P mechanic in 18 months. That really changes the conversation. Because again, companies don't hire you for what you can do today, they hire you for what future value that you hold. The second thing was my tools. After I was in aviation for 2 years, I was able to get a little toolbox. When I interviewed at SkyWest, they actually mentioned and asked if I was able to provide and get my own tools. Right? That wasn't just another line on the resume. It was something they're looking for. And I was able to prove that I'm prepared and ready to work for them right now. A third thing that I mentioned was that I had my SITA badge from Atlantic. If you don't know what a SITA badge is, it basically says that you've passed background checks and know the rules of the ramp. It's the badge that the actual airport gives you from the government that proves you're allowed to work on this ramp, right? You know the rules, you know what not to do, what to do. And that's just one less hurdle for an employer. Your job is to make it so much easier for them to hire you. The fourth thing that I had was hands-on experience. Not wrenching, not signing off records, but I was towing, fueling, de-icing, all those things. At this job now, I'm wrenching. I'm signing off maintenance records. I'm doing those things that would have gotten me ahead at this job I have now. But it shows you that they will trust you with these future things if you show them other things that pertain, like working with airplanes. What I was showing them is that I had real responsibility in aviation around airplanes, and that really matters. And the fifth thing was my attitude. I was not, again, looking for the perfect opportunity when I got hired to SkyWest. I actually had to postpone my AMTT courses because the position they gave me didn't line up with those classes I was going to take. And they were okay with that. It showed them that I was willing to, again, be future valuable, but also take the opportunities that others weren't willing to. That flexibility is very valuable. And now, none of these one steps got me a job by themselves. They all came together and told them the story that I needed to get hired. Simply put, it told SkyWest that I wasn't just looking for a job, I was looking for a career, and that is valuable to an employer. And now this is still an entry-level position. You can get this job if you know somebody and have zero work experience, which can be pretty frustrating if you're the one that you think would work harder than other people. And to be honest, once you reach the regional airline, it can be easy to think that you've already made it. You haven't. You're still building. The middle rung is not the finish line. It is the next step to the next climb. So keep stacking value, even if you move up, because the next rung is looking for the same thing as the last one. But how long does all of this take? I'll show you my real timeline. No rounding up, no exaggerating, no pretending it took faster than it really did. I spent just under 2 years at Atlantic Aviation. And that is a long time. Honestly, if you really wanted to get that career started quick, 2 years is 2 years behind. But if you have that mentality of wasted time, then it's going to be a lot harder to move to the next rung. For me, it was not a waste of time because I got towing experience, fueling experience, de-icing experience, all these things I've mentioned. I got a stronger resume and a much stronger understanding of how aviation really works. Right now, I'm at SkyWest, and I'll be here until May of 2028, till I finish my A&P certificate, which will be about 2 years. Right now, while I'm working at SkyWest, I'm getting a certification called Die Penetrant. Every little certification that I receive today will make me more valuable than I was yesterday. And here's the honest answer about my next move. I'm not chasing a job, I'm chasing another qualification. I'm not leaving because a certain amount of time has passed. I'm leaving because I have received my A&P certificate, because credentials can open doors that ambition can't. So if you're looking at the timeline, it's about 2 years on the bottom rung and 2 years on the middle rung. And that's 4 years altogether. There's no 6-month shortcut. There's no life hack. This is a career. And real careers take real time. And if you expect to reach the top in a few months, you'll be really discouraged. Not because you're failing, but because your expectations were never realistic. 2 years at the bottom rung is not a failure. That's just the path. And that's really the whole point of this video. The ladder exists, and many people know that, but so many people don't know where the first rung is. So here's what I want you to take away from this. You can start from literally zero. No car, no tools, no badge, no experience, no connections, nothing. $18 an hour. That was me. And that was enough for me to build an aviation career. One that I'm still building on today. The ladder is there. Most people don't know where the first rung exists. You do. Find the bottom rung and show up even if you don't have the gear, the experience, or connections. Make yourself future valuable. Check those career pages every week. And give this process the time that it actually takes. Because careers do not build overnight. Careers are built one rung at a time. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's finish. Nobody in our situation reaches the top without first stepping on the first rung. And that's why I'm making this channel. I'm not here after 20 years in the aviation industry. I'm here after 3. I'm making the climb. You're watching this process as it's happening, watching it being proven, learning what I fail from every step along the way. So if you want to see what the next rung looks like, subscribe, because we're just getting started. I post every single Monday. I'll see you in the next one.